Alright guys, welcome back to this channel. In the previous section, we talked about to calculate our cost of debts and our weighted average cost of capital. So in this section, we are going to calculate our net present value. And please, if you are just joining us, you may not catch up right here. So you just have to go back and watch our previous video to see how we have proceeded to this process. In this section, we are going to now look into the net present value. So what is net present value? Net present value is simply the difference between the money a company expects to make from an investment in the future and the money it spends on that investment today. So that is what net present value means. So it helps business to decide if an investment is worth its time or it's worth its money by considering the time value of money, meaning that money today is worth more than the same amount in the future because of inflation and investment opportunities which may be around or which are available, right? So what does net PV does to a business? It helps in investment decisions, right? It helps in investment decision. So if the NPV is positive, the investment is said to be profitable, and if the NPV is negative, the investment is said to be negative, which may result in loss, right? Now it also considers the time value of money. Like I said, it adjusts future earnings to reflect their value today. So that is what the NPV does for us. It is also used in the valuation of business, right? Remember that everything we are discussing is under valuation. We're trying to evaluate, or we're trying to value our business and see what is the worth of that business. So we're going to look into that. We're going to come to that shortly. Right? These are the parameters, these are the apparatus we need for us to be able to decide to determine the worth of this business, which our fictitious company, Prescott Global Enterprise Limited, right? So it helps to decide, it helps in the valuation of business. Companies and investors use NPV to evaluate projects, mergers, or new business ideas. Remember that this is a new business idea. We're trying to evaluate it and see if the business will be profitable in future and what is the worth of that business. So it compares different investment decisions. So businesses use NPV to decide which project will bring the higher or the highest return, right? So that's what we're going to do on NPV. So first and first, we have what is the period. We have the periods here. I will not waste my time to do that. I can just go ahead and say equals to 1. So we can say this plus, okay, if I drag it forward, really give me the same thing, okay? So the periods, we have the periods, 5 years, right? We have 5 years. This is an input. I can call it an input, or I can just say, so I can either call it and say it's an input, or is there anywhere I link period here? No. Or I can go to my input and get that. So we have the cash flows, that is the free cash flows which we have calculated. So we now go back and link our free cash flow, the cash flow which we have calculated. So but in this case, so this is the free cash flow. This one we now say multiply it by the divisor. Remember our divisor. Please, if you are just joining us, these things will sound so strange to you, so you just have to follow us through by watching the previous sections so that you can follow along. So our free cash flow is now this. So this now is going to be a link. This is link, right? This is link. So we are now going to calculate our discount factor. What is now our discount factor? So to calculate our discount factor, what we are going to do is we're now going to say equals to open brackets, equals to open brackets 1 plus our weighted average cost of capital. Now because this value is just 1 there, we have to lock it so that it will take reference from there. Remember our absolute referencing. So lock it. When you're done locking it, you just close the bracket, then you raise it to the power of the period, raise to the power of minus the period, right? Enter. So this is your weighted average cost of this is your discount factor. This is your discount factor. You put it I like putting this in 4 decimal places or 3 decimal places. Anyway, it's still the same thing. So we now say our discount factor risk calculation, and this is our discount factor, right? So when you now get your discount factor, you now calculate your present value. So what is your present value? I like to make this 4 decimal places. Don't mind me, I don't want to go and fix my keyboards. 4 decimal places, okay? So this is now our discount factor. So our present value is now going to be equal to our cash flow times the discount factor. Then we enter. This is now our present value. Then you fill it in. When you fill it in, so we have this. So what is then our net present value? So we have gotten our present value. So what is our net present value? So in this case, you can choose to use Excel formula to decide this, or you can try your ability, try to understand. What I usually like doing is I try to understand what it is first. I try to do it on my own to understand what it is. To understand it, then I can apply Excel formulas to get that, right? So let's first of all apply our knowledge. Sorry, this space supposed to be not supposed to be a total size. It's going to be a subtotal. Adding. You can leave it like that, it's not a problem, but I just want to do it like this. So we have been able to calculate our present value. It's time for us to calculate our net present value. Okay, so it's simply going to be, let's say we want to calculate it here, is going to be equals to the summation of all our cash inflows. Sorry, the summation of all our present value is going to give us our net present value. You know why? Because we have applied the discount rates. We have applied the discount factor on it to arrive at this. So when you sum everything up, it's going to give you the. So now let's look at if we are using Excel formula to do it. Is it going to give us the same thing? So let's say NPV. So the first thing we have is the rate. So what is our rate? So the rate is now this, our WACC. So comma, what are the values? So the values are going to be everything under the cash inflow here, under the cash flow here, and just close the bracket and enter. So you can see that everything checks out. It gives us the same thing. So we have been able to calculate our net present value. First of all, we started off by calculating by linking our cash flows, which we have already calculated, as the free cash flow, which I've already calculated from the previous videos. If you're just joining us, you have to go and watch that. We link them. Then after linking it, we calculated our discount factor. After getting our discount factor, we now calculated our present value. So after getting our present value, we now calculate our net present value. So it is simple. You can either choose to use Excel formulas to do it, or you can try your legs. So just try your understanding. What I like doing is to try my understanding first and see how it applies, the dynamics surrounding it. But because we have already applied the discount factor we have, so the summation of everything here is now going to give us the net present value. Then if we now decide to use Excel, formulas to calculate that, it's still going to give us the same thing. The only thing is that it will eliminate us calculating the discount factor separately and the net present value and the present value separately. It will just put out the net present value for us, right? So but we need to understand, and let's see how the dynamics of how the things work. So you can just come back here and say equals to divided by our divisor again. So this is the value. This is what we have as a value, right? Make it that says. So this is now the net present value of the business. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is to calculate the terminal value. We're going to now look at the terminal value of this company. That's what is now the terminal value. Consider the terminal value is the estimated future value of a company or of a business at the end of the financial forecast period. So we're trying to look at, is this business a going concern? That's the question we are asking ourselves here. Is this business a going concern? If the business is a going concern, we're now looking at the last model, the last value of the future. So that's why you say it is the estimated future value of a business at the end of the financial forecast. So what is the end value of that forecast? At the end of our modeling, at the end of this 2029, what is the value of that? So that is what we are looking at. So we're now going to link our free cash flow. That's the free cash flow for the 5th year. So the free cash flow for the 5th year is this. The free cash flow for the 5th year is this. So you just enter, linked it. So when you link it, it's a link style. So this is now our free cash flow for the 5th year, right? Let's go ahead and understand what the terminal value does for a business. So the terminal value, like I said, is the estimated future value of a business at the end of the financial forecast period. So it helps business calculate how much a company will be worth in the long run, beyond the years we can predict with certainty. So beyond the years we can predict. So it helps business to calculate how much a business will be worth in a long run, beyond the years we can predict with certainty, right? So since businesses do not just stop after 5 years or after a few years like we have predicted here, so what the terminal value does for us is to account for all the future cash flows beyond the forecast periods in the business valuation. So that's what we're trying to do here, right? So what does terminal value do to a business? It has in the business valuation, which is what we're trying to say. Terminal value is a major part of company valuation, especially in methods like discounted cash flow analysis, right? Now we have it estimates the future worth of the business. Since it's difficult to predict cash flows from decades, terminal value provides a simple way to estimate what the business will be worth far into the future. It is used by investors and analysts. So what it means is that investors use terminal value to determine if a business is good for long-term investment or just a short-term investment, right? So it makes valuation more realistic. So it is more realistic to use terminal value. So terminal value, without terminal value, business valuation will only focus on a few years and ignore long-term potentials of the business, right? So we're going to now calculate the terminal value. So in calculating the terminal value, we need our free cash flow for the last year, which is the last forecast period, and we are going to now look at, we are going to get the growth rate, and we're going to also use our WACC. So now this is exactly where we start deciding the value of the company. When we come to terminal value, now this is where we now start seeing the worth of that business. Now we are now seeing both the current and the past. Sorry, we are now seeing both the current and the future value of that business under the terminal value, right? So now let's go. What is our growth rate? We have our growth rate earlier on, which is under our link. So which is under our input. So we can just go back and say the growth rate is going to be linked to what is our growth rate? It's not here. Let's go up. So this is our growth rate. So growth rate, we link it. So growth rate, once we link it, you have put it in your percentage. So your percentage style, right? So our growth rate is 20%. Sorry, it's 3.20%. So after you have gotten your growth rate, the next thing you're going to do is also link your WACC. Link your WACC. That's your weighted average cost of capital. You link it, bring it forward, and format it into your percentage style. Percentage style. In case you're wondering how I become fast on doing this, I can just let me just do this. I expand this a little. Right, okay. So in case you're wondering how I do this so fast, I have explained that in my previous videos. So in this, for the sake of repetition, let me just repeat it. If I want to change, because we have already formatted the sales styles we want, we need this consistency in everything we do, and when you keep repeating the same process, going the same long process, you end up making mistakes and consistency will not actually exist in your model. So this is actually another skill you need to master. So you have to maintain consistency. So what I do is to press my Alt, then I press my H, which you're seeing here, press my H, then I press my J to go to my sales styles, which is J, press it. They're all my formatting for everything I've formatted. I have designs to be using for this model is there, so I'll just click on that, and that is how we get that. So to calculate our, after linking all these things, to calculate our terminal value, everything here is linked actually. So let me do it again. So Alt, select the values you want to format, Alt, H, J, then select so link. We have this. So to calculate our terminal value, what we are going to do is now say equal to what is our feature, what is the feature cash flow, that's the cash flow for the 50 year, the cash flow for the 50 year, which is this. Now you now multiply it, open bracket, you now say 1, because we are trying to determine the feature, right? 1, then plus the growth rate, right? Plus the growth rate. So when I say plus the growth rate, you close the bracket, then you divide it by the weighted average cost of capital, open bracket, divided by weighted average cost of capital, then minus the growth rate, so that is now okay. So minus the growth rate, so you close the bracket and you enter. So it's now going to give you the value of the business in future. So this is now the value of the business. Now can you see what is happening here? Here we have 555,000, but the future value of this business, the unforeseen future value of the business, is now 11,853. So that is what we are talking about. Terminal value of a business estimates the future value of that business at the end of the at the end of the forecast period. Our forecast period is this, which is a 50 year. So the feature, it is made the future value of the business at the end of the forecast period, which helps in calculating how much a company will be worth in the long run. So this is in the long run, the business is worth this value. So when we come back in the next section, we are going to now look into the enterprise value and see what the enterprise value does and how it affects our valuation. So these are actually the values of this business. So investors will come and say, okay, what is the future value of this business? Or they'll look at the future value of this and say 11 million. Wow, 11.8 million. Wow. So these are the things they will look into. They say, okay, this company have at least a brighter future. Let's see what we can do with it, right? So these are things we should pay close attention to when you are doing valuation of business. So like I said, terminal value is a key part of business valuation, right? It estimates companies' long-term business and long-term values beyond the forecast period, helping investors and analysts understand its future worth. That's the future worth of the business. So this is now the future worth of our business. So when we return back, what we're going to do is to calculate the enterprise value of this business and understand what enterprise value is. So if you have not subscribed, again, this is another opportunity for you to like, subscribe and share. All right. And if you have any observation, or if you have any comment, or if you have anything or any problem you want us to tackle, it is also an opportunity for you to use the comment section to reach out to us. We are going to get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you very much for sticking around, and see you in the next class.